Hey there, it's Ryan Reynolds, and you are listening to Fearless in Devotion, the absolute worst podcast in all of football history. Go get them, guys.
Here they come, a mighty champions, raise your voices.
Croeso nôl, and welcome to the latest edition of the Fearless in Devotion podcast, sponsored by the Fat Boar Bar and Restaurant. Also, they run the excellent Maesgwyn Hall, where I had some amazing, and I repeat, amazing, loaded chicken tikka fries last night. So big shout out for that. Well, what a dull sort of 24 hours it's been to be a Wrexham fan. Joined by Andy and Tim to chew the fat over a bit of Carabao Cup business, the whole City game, and then we'll look forward to the West Brom match as well with a guest a bit later on. Andy,
Have you ever had any Carabao? Has anyone ever had any Carabao?
I have it coming out of the taps in my house. So
Is it? It's an energy drink, is it?
I think it's a kind of Canadian moose, I think.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds saleable. That's a saleable asset.
Were you watching last night's excitement?
I was. And when I looked at the team, I thought we're not going to go through it, but I thought it was not a bad display. I think they really stepped it up in the second half, and Hull were by far the better side. Probably deserved to be a couple of goals ahead, but then you just can't count us out. I mean, I walked into work today and said, a mate of mine said, "Going to be one of those seasons again, is it? One of those roller coaster Hollywood seasons?" And by that sort of notion, yes, it is. Two very, very late shows. One's made us sick as a dog. The others made us ecstatic. I'm pleased for Ollie. I'm pleased for a lot of the people who started, and I think it shows that we've got a pretty strong squad. Tim, you were there. What was the atmosphere like?
To be perfectly honest, it wasn't great from our point of view, but I think that's because we tend to keep our voices for league games. And for anybody listening, by the way, excuse me, because I'm not at my desk, hence why I'm off my phone, so apologies in advance if it's a sketchy signal. But yeah, it took to about the 64th minute to find our voice properly, to be perfectly honest. I don't know why that was. I don't know if it's
Is that because it's a cup game and people aren't sitting together? So you've got your normal seating.
Yeah, that probably has a say. It was very warm yesterday, in all honesty. Hull fans are in great voice, but made a day of it. They're well oiled. They were in great voice. And yeah, I think it was just a case of there's a lot of people at that ground that hadn't seen these players in the flesh. This is the first time seeing some of these players in the flesh. So, you're trying to, it's not always going to be full tilt like that. However, we are going to need the fans to definitely ramp up the noise levels for the home league games going forward, because if Hull fans are a prime example of what to expect from fan bases this year, then there is the very increasing likelihood that we will get outsung, and it does make a difference. The 12th man does make a big difference, without a doubt. They've said that many times before, but yeah, it definitely got a lot better the last half an hour, understandably. Even a 3-1 down, it's just like, well, okay, it's one of those things. We've been knocked a bit, but then the comeback of it's just great. It's one of my favourite ever League Cup ties, I think. Not that I can remember many from.
We haven't had much to pick over the years.
Yeah. I mean, again, I know we spoke recently on the last pod about glorious failures and stuff. But I remember going to Coventry in the Coca-Cola Cup in like the early '90s at Highfield Road, and Jonathan Cross scoring a worldie, and just that you have these little moments like that, but come off on the losing side. So to sort of snatch, victory from the jaws of defeat in the way we did last night, in the manner that we did, and with the person who won it, well, the person who made us go to the penalties, there's an element of that romanticism about the cup yesterday. It's great.
Liam, did you go?
Yeah, there was something in the water last night, because I was in the Mould Road stand, which was nice and probably cooler than the Tech End, judging by the people that came out there after the game.
Yeah.
Did you touch Phil on the shoulder, Liam?
I told him to go away. I just didn't like. I don't like change. I don't like change. And I was trying to focus on the linesman, whose name was Jacob, and got a response out of him within the first 20 minutes. But yeah, what was that?
A flag up your ass.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you like. But there was something in the water though, because as the minute silence for Joey before the match was about to take place, some bloke who's absolutely pissed out of his mind shuffles in past us, muttering to himself, and to be told to be quiet. Then after about 23 minutes, he ended up getting chucked out for standing up, walking towards the concourse and saying, "Everyone effing get singing now, why are you not singing?" And starting on our own fans. Then next thing, a steward just grabs him and takes him downstairs. So that's a tenner wasted for him. But it was entertaining. I tell you what, for a tenner, I would pay that all over again. I mean, it was sloppy, it was messy. I mean, we started all right, and the Elliot Lee goal was good, and then we just took our foot off the gas, and it looked like it was going to be quite an easy one. We had Hull fans doing the "Mauled by the Tigers" worst chant in the world, and then yeah, we'll get on to Ollie Palmer in a minute, but
Yeah, anyone
what a
else
difference
really
he made.
stand out? What did we think of Hardy and Smith? Smith still looks way off it, doesn't he?
Hardy's not a target man, is he? Hardy's the
No,
runner.
we said this last time.
Hardy's the Watkin to the Kiefer Moore's Bennett, isn't he? He's that kind of runner, very fast on the ground.
Good.
And you could see, like, yeah, the header that he put wide. It would have been so much easier to score that than put it wide. But it'll come good. He's had a couple. Look, he's creating chances.
It's a worry when a striker starts like that and misses two gilt-edged chances, isn't it?
I think you're overanalyzing it. You can't worry because the chance of Southampton, it was a difficult chance to take because of the way it bobbled up. I think if he hasn't hit that bobble, he probably hits it cleaner, and he might have hit it straight to the keeper. So in a weird way, it might have assisted him. But I'd be more worried if he wasn't creating chances, if he wasn't being a nuisance. And chances were at a premium last night, really, because they pretty much were in control for at least a good 70, 75 minutes of that game.
Okay.
Nice.
No, go on.
Much was sort of made of. So when Palmer came on, I think at first he was actually getting. I mean, he got a good reception from the crowd, but there was a few moans and groans early on after he came on because I think he missed. He was struggling to impose himself a bit, but then turned it round completely. Now, obviously, we've got the situation with still as yet unknown the extent of the injury to Kiefer Moore after Saturday. Does that change things for you, Andy, in terms of Ollie Palmer's place in the squad after Parky previously said that he was hoping to send him out on loan?
I think it's this. I think weirdly, if Moore's only out for a month, Ollie stays. He doesn't go anywhere in the transfer window, and he plays. He probably comes on to do the role that he did. He did last night. If it's any more than that, I think they'll believe that they can't go with Palmer all season, and I think he will go out on a loan, and I think they'll bring someone else in to replace Moore. It all depends on the extent of the injury, and it is very much reminds me of, remember last season when Arthur got injured and we didn't know whether to stick or twist on getting a keeper in or just letting Mark Howard play a couple of games. I think if it is a month or less, they'll keep Palmer, but ironically, if it is a bad injury to Moore, that might mean the end of Palmer. So yeah, I think it all depends on Moore. Like the commentator said last night, there's fears it could be an ACL. Now I don't know if that's just.
I don't think so.
Yeah, but you don't. Yeah, I mean that's a commentator sitting in a room somewhere. I'm not sure he's there at the game getting information. He's probably just getting the info from social media the same way that we are. So, I don't think there's much insight there. Also, an ACL would be a knee injury, and it's his ankle, isn't it?
Moore was sat about 10 meters away from me, and he was up. I mean, I didn't see him.
He jumped up for his tee.
No, he was in the players' bit. Then he was gone. Then he was there. Then he was gone. Then he was there. So if his mobility was that bad, he wouldn't have come to the game. They would have said, "Rest up, heal at home. Don't come out to it. Don't need to risk it." So apparently it's swelling on the ankle, which could take 2 weeks, could take longer. But he was there, sat next to Danny Ward. And then Max tips up. So I you know what, I wouldn't. It's strange. I know it'll be the club's decision to decide what they want to do. And Parky said last week, he needs to go out. Parky's got this line now where he says the player knows he needs to go out and play. And as soon as he says that, about 3 days later, that player's gone. Happened with Fowl. It's just happened with Seb Revan. But in a weird way, last night just made me think, you know what, I want Ollie Palmer to do what's best for Ollie Palmer. I think he's earned it. I think he's kind of, he looked really well. Like
Yeah, he
he's
does,
lost
doesn't he?
timber.
Yeah.
He's lost timber, but without losing muscle mass. You could see it in his face. He looks
Yeah.
healthy. He looks happy. He said he was going to sit around and fight for his place. All of us scoffed at it. He's having the last laugh, and
No, you know
nobody could be
what?
happy for him.
He's a template to how you should do it. Because everyone
Exactly.
thought that he was, he got dealt a bad hand. He got a new deal, which he thinks great. I'm here for a bit. He started a lot of games, and then he was dropped like a stone when we brought Sam Smith in. He wasn't even getting the bench. That's hard for a professional to take, but fair play. He didn't moan. He didn't bitch. What he did do was work hard in pre-season. As you say, he looks leaner. He had a good pre-season, I think, as the focal point. Like those Australian teams didn't really know how to deal with him because he is a throwback. And I do sort of think maybe the Championship he could rustle up a few feathers and be very old school.
There's a lot of respectful comments from Parky in his post-match presser yesterday about Palmer, and then Palmer said himself, he said, "Look, what the gaffer's done is bringing new players. They've been really ingratiated into the squad easily by the current crop." And I watched Palmer warming up at half time, and then Parky came out of the tunnel. Palmer looked over his shoulder and saw Phil coming towards him, and he just sort of leaned in, give Phil a bit of a tap in the small of his back, had a little bit of a chat. And that was it. I love it. I'd love to have known what he said. Like, I'd love to have said, let me have a bit of a run out. Let's see what I can do. It's just great, isn't it? It's great.
Yeah, well, I managed to get myself in hot water because earlier this week on Red Passion, someone described Palmer as a big unit and used that as justification for keeping hold of him. So as is my wont, I said, well, the Eiffel Tower's a big unit, but that doesn't necessarily justify keeping hold of someone. I meant that more in terms of the big object comment because I just thought it was odd. But lo and behold, I went on last night and everyone was like, "Ah, you've done it now. Look what you said about Palmer." I was like, "No, I genuinely have nothing against the guy, and I think his attitude has been absolutely spot on in terms of the way he's responded to being frozen out of the squad. I just think, if I'm being totally honest, do I think he's going to be the number 9 that starts for us week in,
No, he's not
week
going
out
to
in the
start.
Championship?
I don't
No.
think he's ever going. I don't think he's going to start for us in the Championship.
Number 35.
Yeah, but there's a role that he can play.
Yeah.
And okay, he doesn't have the nuance that Fletcher does, like the little flicks and tricks. But I tell you what, he'll come on for 20 minutes and that centre half, that tiring centre half, will know he's been in a game. Look, does he have the pace or the movement to really make it in the Championship? No, but for limited periods in matches, this guy can be effective, and I'm glad for him. And I'm glad that his tail's up a little bit. And what also pleased me, and we didn't do enough of this on Saturday, was we were putting decent balls into the box. It wasn't, McLean's cross was good, but Barnett's cross was fantastic. The way he dug it out, the way it missed the defender and then just arced right onto Palmer's head. I tell you what, Barnett is, especially Longman came on and was probably culpable for Saints down the left. But Barnett was fantastic last night, and I think he's the number 1 choice, a right wing back at the moment.
As Andy claimed in this week's newsletter, that I simply don't get a lot right, apparently, but conceded that I got the Waldron right. I'm going to take a little bit of credit, very, very modicum amount of credit for the Palmer thing, because I remember saying maybe 3 or 4 weeks before the season started, I would not be surprised if Palmer comes in and affects a game somewhere along the track. And obviously injuries and circumstances have allowed that to happen. But I don't see him staying. I don't see him staying. But you know what? Last night has won a lot, proved a lot of doubters wrong, and have basically said, you know what? If he does stay, then great. And what you've just said, then, if he can affect the game in the way he did yesterday, and suddenly take on that Fletcher role, surprisingly, he likes it. He likes the trappings of what's going on here. However, in his interview last night, I thought he's had an attitude adjustment somewhere. Not that he was never an arse, but he seemed much more happy with where his status is in the squad currently lies.
No, I agree. Yeah. I definitely agree on that. I think as a 33-year-old who knows he's come up with us from non-league, I mean, it's a bit easier for the likes of Max to make the step up because he's young, but it's harder for Ollie to do it. And I think Ollie knows his place now. And Ollie also wants to stay with us. He wants to be part of this.
I think he's probably a bit at peace as well, where, if he does go, well, look at the way he's just signed off, ultimate professional performance, taking it back to when he wore that number 35 last time round. We're going to be joined in a second by our guest, but just a quick one, lads. Who do you fancy in the next round?
We do a quick two. Right, firstly, last word on Palmer. Would you keep him, yes or no?
If Moore's only out for a couple of weeks, yes.
Liam?
I think same logic as Andy on that, to be honest. If it's a short-term thing, yeah. Otherwise, no.
Okay, let's have a triple hat-trick of yeses just because the feel-good vibes there. Who do you want in the next round? I think there's about 3 or 4 that I would take. It would either be Sunderland, Manchester United, and there was one more, Leeds and Everton. Leeds and Everton, Sunderland and Man United for me. We'll probably end up with Tranmere or Stockport, but Everton would be cracking, wouldn't it, away?
Andy?
I'd love Leeds because we never played them. Everton's a good shout. Didn't realise we could get Everton. But yeah, we can. Everton away would be fantastic. Personally, Wolves. Never been there.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Manchester United at home just because I saw that someone was getting annoyed that it was going to be rigged.
I'm just going to go for Manchester United at home. Right, okay, you know it's going to be Grimsby, don't you?
Yeah.
You know we're going to play Grimsby.
It'll be Tranmere, I'm telling you. It'll be Tranmere. It'll be awful.
No, I'd love Tranmere. I'll take Tranmere.
No.
Right, we've all had our dose of Carabao now, haven't we? So we've drunk it all.
Hi, Adrian. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I've also had my full dose of Carabao after my team, West Brom, were defeated on penalties by our bogey team, Derby County. We outplayed them for 95 minutes, conceded a very weak goal right at the death, and then 3 professional footballers kind of at the back of the net from 12 yards. So we're out.
Oh, it's a stupid cup for losers anyway, Adrian.
Well, in which case we should win it. We haven't reached round 4 since 2014. That'll give you some idea.
Oh, I'll tell you what, we haven't reached round 1 since round 2 since probably 2007. So there's a small matter of 15 years in non-league there. But, the trophy's just as good in many ways.
This is Andy's crapper introductions. I'll introduce Adrian. Adrian Goldberg joining us from the Liquidator podcast, West Brom pod. How are you, sir? Thank you for joining us. Thanks for taking time out. Apart from the Carabao Cup, how are you enjoying the start of the season?
I was pretty downbeat, I've got to say, before the season started. I think that we've let go at West Brom a couple of our more expensive players in terms of wages. Grady Diangana, John Swift, both of them, I should say, were utterly inconsistent. And I don't mourn their departure really as footballers, but they were 2 players who added something in terms of a little bit of the unexpected, could occasionally contribute a goal. And we haven't really replaced them in the squad. So I think we can do better than those players in theory, but we haven't. There's a cloud hanging over one of our defenders, Torben Hegem, who at the time of recording this is still a West Brom player, but he probably won't be in the next few days if the rumours are to be believed. We only had him a season, very good centre-back, but Bologna are interested in him. And there's still a fear that Tom Fellows, our star under-21 winger, may be sold on as well. We have got real profit and sustainability issues. You'll know that you're allowed to lose 41.5 million quid over 3 seasons in the Championship. Last season alone, we lost 39 million pounds. So that is a big ship to turn around, and at the same time to try and remain competitive in a Championship with teams like Wrexham in it.
That is a huge loss. When I looked at who you've gone for your next manager, Ryan Mason, young lad, I did sort of think, are they trying to save a bit of cash here? Was that your feeling when he came in? Because I was a little bit surprised. He's had a couple of caretaker spells at Spurs. He was quite a highly rated coach, but to give him the reins of a Championship team, especially one that needs to go, desperate to go up, I thought was a big gamble.
It's certainly a gamble. A manager who has never properly managed and who has no experience at this level. But young managers often do well in the Championship. We had Carlos Corberán, who really saved us from relegation. We had him for 2.5 years, and he's now off doing extremely well at Valencia. He then quit on Christmas Eve. Thank you, Carlos. That's a nice Christmas present. But by the time he left, that project had rather run out of steam, very cagey, cautious football. And there was a sentimental return then for Tony Mowbray, who had been one of the great managers of my time at West Brom. Tony Mowbray was still recovering from cancer at the time, didn't seem to quite have the energy or the eye that he had had before his illness. So he went into the summer in a state of real uncertainty. The club claims to be very data-driven, but it's very hard, isn't it, to have data on an untried manager. But I don't think it was cost-saving. I think Andrew Nestor, who is our sporting director, has had a look at the candidates out there. From what I've seen of Mason, he speaks well, and he fits the profile of a head coach who will try and work within the structures of the club. So you certainly didn't want some old lag in there saying they wanted to run it their way. I don't think Ryan Mason is cut from that cloth. And from what I've seen of the two games so far, we are trying to play passing football, which is good, but be more direct than we were under Corberán. So a balance really between the very cautious approach of Corberán and the sometimes rather adventurous style of Tony Mowbray, which could leave us exposed at the back. So I'd say the initial response is that it seems quite positive. He's schooled by Pochettino. That's the name that he references in terms of his time at Spurs. And I'm happy to see how he goes. We all know in football, if it doesn't work after 5 or 6 months, he'll be out the door. But I think that fans will show patience to him as long as results remain reasonable. I don't think anybody's expecting West Brom to pull up trees this season. But if we can stay competitive, I think that'll be a solid start for him.
Is he wedded to a formation yet? Has he got a particular style of play? What should we look out for? Is it? We're direct, so we're going to be in your face. Do you have the players who can sort of break that?
What's been interesting in our two games so far is that we haven't conceded a lot of chances, and that's been noticeable. I think we play with 4 at the back, or certainly in the two games so far, we played with 4 at the back and then 2 deep sitting midfielders. So I don't think your approach in that sense will cause us undue problems. I think we're able to cope with that. Nat Phillips, who we signed, who had been on loan at Derby last season, he's only played just over 100 games from Liverpool. We've got him. Klopp rated him very highly at Liverpool. Didn't really want to let him go, but you get to a point where you're 28 and you've played 110, 120 league games. You've got to move on. But Nat Phillips has been a revelation, or he was in his first game. He didn't play in the Carabao Cup game, but he looked good. So it remains to be seen who else partners him at centre-back. But I think we look quite solid defensively and up for a scrap. We signed a US international called George Campbell, who made his debut against Derby in the Carabao Cup, only 1 cap for USA, but he looks rugged and ready as well. So, if it's direct you want, I think we can cope with that. I think our issue is at the other end, really. I mentioned the 2 players that we'd lost, Swift and Dean Garner, both of them terribly inconsistent. The one really, really bright spot and the change that Ryan Mason's brought this season is to play Isaac Price just behind the striker. So he's not a number 10. He kind of plays off the striker. We've got a new striker called Erne Hegebo, who is Norwegian. He's a battler up front, a player who likes to hold the ball up. But then Price will play off him, flitting around the front line, swapping positions with Tom Fellows. And Price looks really good and exciting. He is our main goal threat, I would say. If you can control Price, you'll control Albion, but that's easier said than done because he's a very talented player.
Adrian, what's been your perception of sort of Wrexham's story over the last few years? I mean, I'm sure you haven't been able to avoid it in the media glare. And what do you make of our transfer business this summer?
I'll tell you what, overall, the story of Wrexham are utterly embraced. I think it's been wonderful. I've got three daughters, and the youngest of them is 10. She's football mad and she's Albion mad, but Wrexham are her second team because even though she's under the age that you're supposed to watch it, and we agree not to repeat the language of Phil Parkinson.
Yeah.
We've loved the stories, and we've loved I'm sure that you'll get the routine abuse that you get from all football supporters when our fans visit on Saturday. But truly, I think it's a great story, and there are too many left behind towns in the UK, and Wrexham has been one of them. West Bromwich is another one of them. It's sad that it takes two film or TV stars from the United States to turn that around, but here we are, and I think the perception of Wrexham as a town and as a club has gone up dramatically. I used to run a fanzine in the 80s called Off the Ball. Geraint Parry, who was your club secretary, was one of our subscribers, and I remember days when Geraint, as a fan, was kind of writing Wrexham's program. From memory, you didn't actually have a fanzine. Your fanzine was the club program. So to see the club transformed in the way that it has, and I think this has been undertold. I understand why it's been undertold, but in the years before Rob and Ryan, it was the fans who kept Wrexham alive. Wrexham would not be there were it not for you, for the supporters. So I think that's an important part of the story as well, and it's a part of the story that I like to remind people of. But I think it's brilliant. I really do think it's brilliant, and I think clearly there's a level at which there's a bit of jealousy, and I kind of do wish football clubs generally didn't have to rely on sugar daddies to get them up the leagues. I wish it wasn't like that. But in a world of sugar daddies, Rob and Ryan are brilliant.
Yeah, that's to be fair. Hull didn't seem too fond of them last night, but that we're well used to. We're well used.
Well,
to
you'll get that anyway.
We're well used to that by now.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily, you know what it's like. You'll get that abuse, but you'll speak to people in the pub and they'll go, "Oh yeah, I didn't mean that."
Yeah, it's all good. What about, have you kept an eye on Phil Parkinson's signings this summer?
I'll confess, no. I mean, clearly, I'm still with. I've got one episode of Wrexham Till I Die to watch. So I'm at the point where Paul Mullin is considering his future, and a bit head in the hands about that. Tell me about it. I'll tell you what I think.
Well, we'll just say for starters that you won't see Paul on Saturday because he's gone on.
no spoilers.
It's because he's gone on. He's gone on loan.
And we do go up, Adrian, by the way.
Yeah, but it's been
Who's your big names then? Who's your summer big names?
Right, we got 8. Liam, I always forget Lewis O'Brien, so make sure I don't forget him.
Oh yeah.
Danny Ward in goal. Centre half, we've got Connor Cody. We've got Lewis O'Brien. We've got George Thomason. We brought in Liberato Cacace, and before I saw him play, your guess was as good as mine. We brought
and you were calling him Liberace. I understand on Saturday.
I was, yeah, I was. We've up front, we've got Josh Windass, we've got Ryan Hardy, and we've got Kiefer Moore. That's 8? Have I missed anyone out?
Did you mention Danny Ward?
Yeah.
And I mean, apart from the player who isn't called Liberace, I've got a good. I mean, obviously, I can't give a good word to Connor Cody because he's ex-Wolves. But in all seriousness, I mean, that sounds like a collection of players who, at the very least, will get you halfway up the Championship and quite possibly be knocking on the door of the playoffs, I'd say.
Does that include a former Baggy and James McLean and a squad player called Mo Fowl who scored for Port Vale last night?
Well, James McLean, of course, is always an interesting one. Even he split the opinion amongst our fan base, as I think as he does amongst every fan base, partly because of his political heritage and the baggage of his politics, and also partly because I think of his playing ability, or sometimes apparent lack of it. The kind of the slightly headless chicken thing that McLean has at times. And Mo Fowl, I mean, he scored for us against Fleetwood when we lost last season in the Carabao Cup. I think it was his first and last meaningful bit of action for the Albion, and I was astonished that Wrexham had him really. So he's on to Port Vale now, isn't he? And good luck to him. Maybe he's found his level. But even when he was playing in League Two for Walsall, he didn't really look.
He's one of those players who seems that he's got everything. He's pacey, he's big, he's strong, he's got a good touch on him, and he's one of those potential players. If you can put all this together, you're a £10 million player. If he doesn't, he's going to be at Fleetwood. Yeah, that's the thing with Mo, I think, and I think the best thing for Mo is to go and play games, and he could go to Port Vale quite easily and bag 20 and be really be pushing on the door next season with his tail up and his mind sorted out. But there's potential there, but whether he'll put it all together, who knows? Adrian, you sort of mentioned a few of them, but who are the people we should really watch out for?
Yeah, well, I think we've got Tom Fellows, essentially Tom Fellows. I've heard some people describe him, including some Albion fans, as a one-trick pony, but it's a great trick. He's very good at going outside players on his right foot, getting to the byline and putting the ball into the middle. He, through assists or goals himself, was responsible for 1 in 4 of our goals last season. So you can see why Premier League clubs are looking at him. And I could see, coming on in the last 20 minutes of a Premier League game, he would be perhaps even more effective in the Premier League than he would be for us. So he can go quiet sometimes, and teams spot him and mark him out of the game sometimes. But he is a good player, and he's got 2 or 3 very good moments in him in every game. I think that Isaac Price is the guy who's really catching the eye now, though, just playing off the striker of Hegebo, who I'm sure it will be. Northern Ireland. He doesn't score quite enough yet for us, but I think he will. He's got that about him. Isaac Price started off at Everton, then went to Standard Liège rather than knockabout in the under-21s at Everton. And I like that in a player. He's been determined to show what he can do. And then beyond that, in terms of players to really be fearful of, not a lot. Left side, we might have Carlin Grant, who works hard and may have a goal in him now and again. He's okay. He's all right, Carlin Grant. Or it might be Mikey Johnston, who's got a bit more trickery about him, but like a lot of tricky wingers, doesn't always have the end product. Fellows and Price, I'd say that's our major threat.
Only silence between all 3 of us. We don't know what to say. Yeah, I mean, I think we've covered most of the bases there. To be honest, let's do some predictions. Let's start to wrap things up. Adrian, is you're our guest. You can go first. What are you thinking for Saturday?
We've got a bit of fight about us this season. We've got a bit of grit under Ryan Mason, and we're not giving it up easily, I'd say. I'm going to go 1-1.
Andy?
I'd really like to get a win on the board. Home form is our best chance to do this. It's going to be tight. A lot depends on how we're looking up front. I'd just like to think that maybe we can scrape a very, very tight 1-0 or 2-1. I don't know. I still haven't worked out the championship. So even though we've improved, I don't know where we are on other teams. So it's hard to really predict, but I'd like to think we can eke something out very nervy at home.
So what was your prediction?
Well, I said 1-0 or 2-1.
After all that, I'm still waiting. Liam?
I did see this as, I don't know, I had a good feeling about this match for a while, and now I just feel like the first 2 games, the Southampton defeat and last night's result, I don't know what to expect. I honestly don't know what to expect from this division. I'd like to see us get a win, but quite similar to Adrian, I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw.
Right, I'm going to go 2-1. I'll go 2-1 to us. If Ryan Mason's got him defensively solid. Yeah, I think I'll go for that. I think we've had a loss, we've had a draw after extra time. Let's have a win. Let's even it all up. I'll go with that. Grand. But it'll all go wrong. 12:30 on the box, on Sky, on ITV. Yeah, we'll see what happens. So
if you get me a ticket, guys, I'll head on up there.
Have they been in strong demand then? I take
Oh,
it.
massive, yeah. I mean, we travel well away, and I think for both of our 2 pre-season away games, Blackpool away and Lincoln away, we took more for those friendlies than the allocation at Wrexham, because I think it's the first league game, isn't it, that we've ever played at your ground, and I think we played an FA Cup tie there in 1930. Demand.
It was a friendly, wasn't it? There was a friendly a few years ago.
Yes, yeah, there was a friendly, but I think because of the novelty factor, I think we could probably have taken towards 2,500-3,000 there if we'd had the allocation. So
yeah, I think we've got one of the stingiest allocations in the Championship this season on account of the redoing the Cop stand at the minute, but. I'd like to say that we could promise you a luxurious experience in the away end, but I would be lying.
I was looking forward to it then for a minute.
But yeah, I think that's most things covered off, unless Andy or Tim, you got anything to add? That's a strict no from those guys.
It's very hot. Very hot.
Tim
I'm
is
on the move. I've got to get back to work soon. Yeah. I'm lusty. But Adrian, thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate it.
Cheers. Thank you so much, Adrian. And I think we'll tie this up. So thanks very much, guys. We'll see you on Sunday.
Cheers.
over and out.